If you're an instructional designer, you know this struggle. You sit down with your subject matter expert, your SME, and you're ready to get all that brilliant knowledge out of their head. But there's a huge problem. Turns out, a lot of what makes an expert isn't something they can just tell you. So what's this number? 70%? Well, according to research, that's roughly how much of an expert's crucial decision-making knowledge is totally non-conscious. It's automated. They just do it without even actively thinking. And that right there is a massive blind spot for anyone trying to build effective training. And this quote from Dr. Richard Clark just drives the point home. It's not that experts are trying to hold back on you. They genuinely can't articulate this giant piece of their process. This is the classic curse of knowledge. When you know something so well, it's pretty much impossible to remember what it was like not to know it. So this brings us to that hidden knowledge. To really get what we're after, we've got to draw a really clear line between two types of knowledge. The stuff that's right there on the surface and the stuff that's buried deep, deep down. This slide breaks it down perfectly. So on one side, you've got explicit knowledge. That's the 30% that's conscious, it's easy to talk about, kind of like reciting traffic laws. But the real gold, that's on the other side. Tacit knowledge. The hidden 70%. This is that automated, non-conscious skill. Think about driving a car. You aren't consciously thinking, okay, now I'm going to apply exactly 15% pressure to the brake. No, you just feel the road and you react. That right there, that's tacit knowledge in action. And this leads us to the big dilemma, right? If the most critical knowledge is locked away and they can't even tell you about it, how on earth are you supposed to build training that actually prepares people for the real world? How do you teach the thinking behind the doing? Well, luckily for us, there's a framework for that. The solution starts by separating what we can see from what we have to uncover. We need a way to look at not just the actions, but the invisible cognitive stuff that guides those actions. And this is where the concept of thought flow comes in. Yeah, this slide lays it out so clearly. Workflow, that's the doing. It's the overt stuff, the behavioral tasks you can literally watch someone do. But thought flow, that's the hidden thinking, the covert, cognitive tasks that are happening inside their head. It's the critical thinking that guides the workflow, and that's the part we need to make visible. And here's why this is so critical. If we only design training around the workflow, we're leaving our learners dangerously unprepared. We're pretty much forcing them into high-stakes trial and error when they're on the job. Sure, they'll know the steps, but they won't know why or when to change those steps, and that can lead to some really costly mistakes. So, how do we get at this elusive thought flow? This is where Guy Wallace's incredible framework comes into play. He developed a really simple but super powerful method he calls the 3Ds to systematically uncover an expert's hidden thinking process. Okay, so this diagram shows you the sequence. It's a really logical flow. As you can see, the thinking process kicks off with discriminations, which then feed into determinations, and finally, all of that culminates in decisions. These 3Ds are the cognitive tasks happening before, during, and after the physical doing. So let's break down what each D actually means. And to make it real, let's use an example. Think of an expert IT support specialist trying to fix a critical system outage. All right, the first D is discriminations. This is all about situational awareness. It's the expert's ability to look at a situation, read the cues, and realize, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't standard. For our IT specialist, this isn't just seeing a system is down. No, it's recognizing that the error log is showing a weird pattern they've never seen before. That's the trigger. The normal playbook isn't going to work here. Okay, so once the expert discriminates that the situation is unique, they move on to the second D, determinations. This is like the brainstorming phase. It's where they identify all the viable alternatives. Our IT specialist is thinking, okay, the standard reboot failed. What are my options? Could be a bad server patch, a network hardware failure, maybe a database corruption. This is all about generating possibilities, not picking one, just yet. And finally, we get to decisions. After determining all the possible paths, the expert uses their experience to choose the best one. Our specialist is thinking, database corruption is possible, but it's unlikely and it's a pain to fix. The patch is also a maybe, but a network failure would affect the most users. You know what? I'll check the core network switch first. It's the quickest thing to check, and it has the biggest potential impact. That right there, that's the judgment call. Now, let's see how this all clicks together in a practical sense. This framework connects the 3Ds to the actual job. So on the left, you see the performance requirements, the workflow, stuff like outputs and tasks. Then on the right, you see the thought flow, our 3Ds.
An expert is constantly using the 3Ds to navigate their workflow. Our IT specialist's task is to restore the system, but their thought flow is this super fast cycle of discriminating cues, determining options, and deciding on actions. So that's the theory. But how does this actually apply in the real world? See, the power of the 3Ds isn't just about analyzing a single task. It applies to the entire performance environment. This slide is so key because it shows the 3Ds being applied across 3 critical areas, which you can see right there in the middle column: the process itself, the environmental enablers, and the human enablers. A real expert doesn't just think about the task in a vacuum. They're constantly analyzing all 3 of these things.
Let's break that down with our IT specialist. For the process, they're thinking, is restoring from a backup the right move, or do I need a totally new fix here? For environmental enablers, they're asking, do I have the admin passwords I need? Is the network diagnostic tool even working? Is there some change freeze going on that I need to worry about? And for human enablers, they're thinking, does the junior tech have the skills to help me? Or do I need to get the network engineering lead on the phone? You see, it's a completely holistic analysis. So why does mastering this framework matter so much? Because it fundamentally changes the entire goal of our work. We stop being people who just create content, and we start becoming people who build competence.
This definition from the source material is everything. Performance competence isn't just about knowing stuff, it's the ability to perform tasks that produce valuable outputs. It's about being capable, not just knowledgeable. And you simply cannot build that capability without understanding the thought flow. This powerful quote from Dr. Patty Shank just says it all. If we don't dig deep to understand the tasks, the outputs, and the thinking that drives all of it, we're not developing real skills. We're just making content. And like she says, that's a terribly poor substitute.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. In your own work, are you designing for content, just checking a box that training was delivered? Or are you truly designing for competence, giving people the deep, resilient skills they need to perform when it really, really counts?